everybody, and happy Friday. It is Friday with Beef. That's right, we are live, coming to you from our studio kitchen here in beautiful, sunny, gorgeous Colorado. We have a great recipe for you tonight. We're very excited about this. You know, as spring kicks in and we get ready for grilling season, the second half of grilling season, right, the warm weather months of grilling season, we know that you're busy. We know that, you know, there's graduation parties, kids have activities. You just want to relax and chill out this summer. And I'll tell you what's great about this recipe we're doing tonight is tri-tip open-faced sandwich, and everything we're using, in essence, is leftovers. So it's really that cook once, eat twice process of what we're doing. As we always say, thank you so much to our friends at the Colorado Beef Council for having us and letting us do this every month. We really appreciate it. A couple things real quick, housekeeping notes for you. If you go over to cobeef.com, that's cobeef.com, Colorado Beef Council website, you will find an amazing amount of things there. If you go to the tab that says cooking, click on that. You will find content for summer grilling tips, a lot of different recipes and great things. But I'll tell you what you will also find there. You will find local ranchers and producers that have Colorado beef waiting for you to put in your fridges, in your freezers, and into your bellies as well. So head over to cobeef.com. We have that link down in the description section as well for you. And then, you know, feel free to ask your questions and comments tonight. Annie, my wife, is behind the camera, so she will be reading off your comments and questions tonight as we roll through this. Anybody we need to say hi to? All right, cool. So, again, tri-tip open-faced sandwich tonight. This is such a great recipe from my buddy Chef Tim Hollinsworth. Tim is a great barbecue chef as well. He does a lot of cool barbecue content, and I'm excited to replicate one of his recipes. We got this off beefitswhatsfordinner.com. Also another amazing resource for you as well. And the great thing about beefitswhatsfordinner.com is you can go in there, you can type in tri-tip, and it is going to bring up a lot of advice and a lot of tips, recipes, videos, all that good stuff for you. That is what beefiswhatsfordinner.com is all about. So one of the things we're going to talk about first is we're going to talk about tri-tip itself. Just an amazing cut of beef, an amazing muscle, and they call it tri-tip. We've got 3 different points on it, but we also have muscle fibers that run in a different pattern throughout this. So let me get some gloves on here, and I want to show you real quick just something to be aware of, because knowing how the muscle fibers run in here is also going to help you cut it and carve it when you're serving it tonight hot, or when you're serving it again for sandwiches as leftovers, right? So you want to make sure you slice it against the grain, making it a little bit more tender, a little bit easier. What I love about tri-tip is I just love that deep, rich beef flavor, definitely tasting the iron, the minerals, and I also love its texture, right? Some people say, well, it's chewy. No, it has texture. It has a little bit of bite to it, has a little bit of firmness. I love that texture. So as you can see in front of me here, we've got that one side that's going to be really well marbled, right? And you're going to see kind of how the muscle fibers run. But if you flip it to the other side, which is the side that has a little more connective tissue that we are going to trim off, you'll also see how those muscle fibers really start and go this way. Oh, I almost dropped it. Start and go this way, but then turn and start to get longer. So very important to watch those fibers, because when you cook it, you'll notice those fibers will stand out a little bit, but depending how much rub you put on there, you could cover them. So as you're trimming, pay attention to that, and then make sure you trim against the fibers, or cut against the fibers when it comes time to serve. Now, one of the things we need to do on this tri-tip here, and I just want to show you this real quick, is we need to go through and, can you see that okay in the camera? Yeah. Okay, so we want to go through and just trim this connective tissue off here. That's going to make this a better eating muscle for you, a better eating tri-tip. And you can see the minute you trim it, it curls up a little bit, very fibrous and very tendinous, almost like a rubber band, if you will. Now, for our leftover, and the cool thing is you prepare the tri-tip however you want. All we need are some leftovers to make the sandwiches. We did a reverse sear on the Traeger, so we actually did it on a wood pellet grill. We were outside, we smoked it. We raised that internal temperature very low and very slow, got it up to about 110 degrees, and then onto a 500-degree grill so we could sear it off and get some nice crust and caramelization. So we want to make sure, first and foremost, we get this tri-tip prepped and ready for its time in your smoker, in your grill. You can even do it in your oven as well, but I'll tell you what, do it outside during the summer months and you will have a wonderful smelling backyard. Your neighbors will wonder what you're cooking. But if you see that, we trimmed it really nice. And if I'm looking at this, I've got muscle fibers that go this way, then they turn a little bit, and they start running this way up until about here, and then they turn again and start running this way. So just pay attention to those. I don't want to beat a dead horse there, so to speak, but I just want to make sure I show you that because that's super important. That is going to help this recipe and your tri-tip adventures come out a lot nicer. So go ahead and throw this in the fridge here real quick, and we'll save that. That's going to be on the menu this weekend at our house. So, all right. Anyone we need to say hello to? Who should we say hello to? Got a couple people, I bet. Maybe one, two. Hey, Hugh. I love it. Good, doing good. Hugger.
Says hello from Westerville. Glad to be back in class.
Oh, yeah. Who is that from Westerville?
Lindsay Stevenson.
Oh, very cool. Hey, Lindsay, good to see you, sir.
And then Peter Johnson is watching.
Good to see you, Mr. Peter.
Hi, everybody.
Well, good to see everybody. We've got Hugger on there. Got a couple of my ace friends, right? We got Lindsay and Hugger on there. Hugh is from Pawleys Island, South Carolina. So, all right, let's talk through this recipe here real quick. We've got some cool things going on overall in this recipe. Some of the stuff we have to do a little bit ahead of time just so that we get it kind of working its magic. These are cured onions. And I followed the recipe, which we have in the description section for you. And we have the cured onion recipe in there for you. Super easy. We started with white onions. We had a little bit of salt, lemon juice, some pepper, some fresh ground pepper, some sumac, which I absolutely love sumac. And then we added some savory as well, just to give it a little herbaceousness. Now, one of the things you want to do, you can see that we're starting to form a lot of moisture in here. So every 20 minutes or so, we're stirring this up. The acid and the salt are helping cure it. So what we're doing is creating a little bit of moisture. As we create the moisture, we want to stir this up, but then drain off that moisture. We want to drain those juices off, get it as dry as we can, and then keep mixing it like that. So we have these beautiful cured onions. My suggestion, and the recipe says it as well, make sure, do these ahead of time. You can do them at least 2 hours ahead of time. I highly recommend doing it the day before. I actually started these about 12 o'clock, so these have been going for about 6 hours. Do them ahead of time, though, and you will have much better success getting things done. Now, we're cheating tonight a little bit, right? We have some leftovers. We're cooking once, eating twice, but I'm making it easy on us, right? We have a little bit of prep in the onions, and then there's a recipe in here for aioli, where you can make your own fresh aioli. Aioli is a fancy word for, that's right, mayonnaise. So we're going to cheat just a little bit and start with some pre-done mayonnaise, but then we're going to add some flavor to it to make our spread for the sandwiches. So I'm going to start with about half cup of mayonnaise, and it doesn't matter. I think pick your favorite mayonnaise. I know there's mayonnaise out there with lime. I know there's mayonnaise out there with lemon in it. So pick your favorite mayonnaise that you prefer, and then we'll go through and add some flavor. So recipe says, we're going to add salt, lemon juice, garlic. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of pepper, tiny bit of black pepper, a little bit there. I'm going to add a little bit of salt just to bring some sharpness up out of that mayonnaise, about a teaspoon, right, just to be safe. And then I've got my press here, so we're going to add some lemon juice, about a tablespoon. Nothing too crazy. We'll set that there because I'm going to use that later. Then here's what I did. I did something fun. I smoked some garlic. So I took some whole garlic cloves, heads of garlic, I should say, and I smoked these guys up to get some flavor. Would you mind handing me that double X box of gloves up there, please? Thank you. Ran out of gloves. Rookie mistake over here today. Got it? All right. So I always like to put gloves on because if you are a hand sleeper, you will wake up drooling on your pillow if you go to bed smelling like garlic. So We'll go ahead and get these guys fixed up here super quick. All right. So let's go ahead and get a glove on here. I'll show you what we're going to do. So I roasted this garlic off in my smoker. About an hour and a half, I tossed it in oil. What I'm going to do now, we'll get this out of our way here quick, is I'm going to go through here and cut the top off a little bit so I can start getting some of those cloves. But look at this. I mean, they're so soft and mellow that they literally just squeeze out. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and squeeze some of that garlic out. And I think we're going to go with 3 cloves just to be on the safe side, right? I've been traveling for a while, so 3 cloves of garlic will ensure that my night in the man cave is well deserved tonight. So I've got that garlic sitting on the table there. All right, we'll get this back in our bag. Actually, now we'll get it back in the bag here. Any questions coming in there? Double check on questions and comments. No questions.
Say hi to Dennis Busso.
Hey, Dennis Busso, good to see you, sir.
Lisa
Cool. All right, check it out. So look at this. See how this garlic just turns into paste? All I'm doing is working this on my board here real quick, trying to just make sure it is all pasty. But those are those cloves that I smoked. So tossed them in oil, smoked them until they were soft. My guess, I think, on those was about hour and a half. Smoked them nice and low at 180 degrees. And look at that right there. We have soft garlic that is smoked and absolutely ready to go. You can roast it in oil. You can toss it in oil. You can do all that. So what we'll do here is we're going to go ahead, make sure we get that all mixed in. And basically, you guys, we call this speed scratch. We're going speed scratch tonight because we're taking some shortcuts to make things a little bit easier, right? This is a fantastic recipe for your backyard party. If you want to have friends over, you want something super, super simple, super light, maybe gives you a little more time to enjoy each other's company and not spend so much time at the grill. So, all right, there we go. Look at that. Mayonnaise is done. So we basically took that mayonnaise, added a little bit of lemon juice, salt, pepper. We added that fresh garlic, and we are good to go. You could also use red vinegar if you want, red wine vinegar. As your acid, I went with lemon. I like the sharpness of lemon. I really enjoy red wine vinegar as well, but we have it here coming up in the tomatoes, so I didn't want to get too overly vinegary, if that makes any sense, right? Okay, so aioli is done. Now we need to make kind of our tomatoes, if you will. So I'm going to take a bowl and get that set up for me. We have some beautiful heirlooms. You could also use hothouse tomatoes. I went through the heirlooms this morning and picked these because they just looked absolutely incredible. And I wanted to make sure that I had just perfectly ripe, beautiful tomatoes. So we're going to cut actually around the core. I want these to be trimmed just a little bit differently so I can kind of lay them out on my bread, if you will. So we're slicing these guys nice and thin. I'm going to place those in the bowl carefully so we don't beat those guys up too much.
While you're doing that,
Yes, while I'm doing this.
Hugh would like to know where they see recipes for this.
Yep. So the question was, where can you find the recipes for tonight? If you go in the event description or the event details from this live, you will see the link in there for tonight's recipes. You can also head over to You can also head over to the Colorado Beef Council Facebook page. If you're on the Colorado Beef Council Facebook page now, you'll see it in one of their most recent posts. But you should see it in the event description from tonight's live, and then you'll also see it over on the Colorado Beef Council Facebook page. All right, look at this. So we have the tomatoes sliced up in here, nice and thin. We have just, look at that, nice little pieces right there. We don't want to go too big. We're going to make these kind of smaller sandwich sized. And as you can see, I went with some sourdough bread today. Found a really nice multi-seeded sourdough. Brushed it with a little bit of olive oil, and then I toasted it on my grill just to get a little char. I didn't go too heavy. There's a fine line between lightly toasted and then very deep toast where it's too hard. It's too crunchy, and it doesn't make the salad or sandwich, I think, that palatable. So I still have a little bit of softness in the bread, but I do have a nice little bit of crisp on the edges and a little bit across the middle. So, all right, so we're going to go with that. Now, minced shallots. We're going to add some minced shallot in here. I haven't used this guy in a while. So we're going to hope that what happened last time, that may have kind of happened last time. So let's hope it doesn't. All right. We're going to have some shallots. We're going to finely mince these shallots up here, and we're going to put those shallots into the tomatoes. So we get and I love shallots because shallots are just a very deep, rich, not as hardy or as harsh of a red onion, if you will. So go through here. Wow. So sharp. We'll just finely mince these up like so. Okay, and then what we'll do is take these over. We're going to go right into the tomatoes. We'll clean up everything on our board here, make sure we get all those in there. Always be careful, too, when you're wiping your knife, if you use your knife to put ingredients in there. I always like to turn the knife this way so that I'm not wiping across the actual blade itself. But, all right, so as you can see, we added our shallots. And I'm not going too heavy. I don't want it to be, wow, that's a lot of onion. I'm really trying to make everything very neutral, if you will. And then don't forget, we also have these onions here. So I'm trying not to go too crazy heavy on all the onions. Now, again, a little bit of salt and pepper. I use a Malden salt or a really nice sea salt. I love the Malden brand because it's thick and flaky, if you will, but not so harsh. Iodized salt's really, really harsh. And I love sea salt because it's just wonderful, all right? A little bit of fresh pepper. I like to grind my pepper fresh. I think that's Aleppo pepper. I have a little pepper mill back here that I pour my peppercorns into and grind. Then I pull the little drawer out, and I have a little bit of fresh ground pepper. So I like that because pepper's so bright and beautiful and lemony and peppery that I like it to be fresh. So. All right, now we're going to add a little bit of oil in here. So just olive oil. I'm using a little Shabika and Sons oil that I got from my friends in Modesto. So we'll add that. I'm going to add a little bit of acid. So a little bit of red wine vinegar, a couple tablespoons, just to add some acid. And then, because we've acid in the vinegar, we've acid in the tomatoes, I'm also going to hit it with a little bit of brown sugar. You can use white sugar too if you prefer. Brown is just so rich and deep and caramely that I wanted to add a little bit of that in there. Some of that sweetness as well. All right. And then we'll carefully, let me grab a glove, mix that up. Any comments, questions, hellos?
Hello to Robin Peters.
Hello, Robin Peters.
Go for Ace.
Go for Ace. I love those guys.
Hugh Petit wants to know, do you use the Malden smoked salt? I think he just...
I do, yes. I have some Malden smoked Annie. Go for Ace is from Minnetonka, Minnesota, where I grew up. So those are good friends. Those are good humans. That's the Kokish family.
Food Dude is watching.
Nah, Adam.
Nelson.
Good to see you. Who, Nelson?
Devin.
Devin, nice to see you. Adam.
Food Dude says, hey, chef from Toronto.
What's up in Toronto, Adam?
Devin says, hey, Chief, keep up the good work.
Well, thanks, Devin. All right, check it out here. So the tomatoes are mixed, right? And this is what we've come up with here. So tomatoes, shallots, salt, pepper. We have some acid and some sweet as well in there. Hugh said you use the smoked Malden, and here's the last I have. This is literally all the smoked Malden I have, and it's not going to be a good thing if I run out. So luckily I stocked up on the full thing of Malden just in case. So, all right, so tomatoes are done. Aioli is done. The garnish is done, right? We have our cured onions done. So we'll set those guys over here. The last thing is tri-tip time. So let's wipe the board off real quick, and then let's go through and slice the tri-tip, and then we'll make sure we show you how to build a couple of these, and you are good to go. Like I said, the best thing, man, the absolute best thing about this is if you are like me, and maybe you're not like me. I tend to make a lot of food. We cook usually for 4 people at our house, which means I cook for how many? 8, 10? Yeah. Well, no. When I cook for 4, I really prep food for what, 10 people? Yes. But now it's 2 of us because kids are gone, right? Kids are out doing their things, and I now still cook for 8 or 10. So if you're like me, and you have extra tri-tip, this is going to be great because this will give you an outlet for that. And think about this too. I think I paid $20 for this beef tri-tip, but imagine if I got meals out of it tonight, it fed 2 of us, and then tomorrow I can make sandwiches that maybe feed another 3 or 4 people. All of a sudden, that $20 spread to 6 meals. So when you look at the cost of beef and you look at the breakdown and you think, wow, that's expensive, start to utilize that cook once, eat twice, because I think you'll be amazed at just how much stretch you get out of your beef dollars. So, all right, let's go ahead on the tri-tip, and we're paying attention to it. I can see all the strands are running this way, so I want to cut nice and thin. I want it to be very easy to eat. I don't want to have it so thick that you are fighting against the sandwich. I want it to be thin so that it naturally kind of falls apart as you're eating it, right? Then cook the beef to your desired doneness. I went probably medium on this just because I didn't want it to be too overdone. And again, I'm shaving it nice and thin. Here's a little tip for you too. Starts to widen out. I will actually shave half of it this way, right? So there's half of the piece. And then I'll shave half of it this way so that instead of one long piece, I've got 2 much smaller pieces. So just a fun way to do it. But now all of a sudden, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, look, I have officially found the corner. So that I can now continue to slice this way. And then here's that tip that was sitting like that I now turn this way and I can slice here. So we're in a good place. Tri-tip is ready. All right, let's do this. Let's go with sandwiches. Let me wipe this off super quick. Yeah, it's a beautiful day in Colorado. It's only going to get nicer this week, I think, right? So everybody should get out and grill. Coming up in May, our next Live with Beef is coming up on May 20. Hold on, I got it written down. May 24th. We're going to be talking about grilling cuts of beef on May 24th. So we're going to do Asian steak street tacos. But we're also going to go through a bunch of different cuts of beef because I want to walk you through some good, this is a great cut to cook and eat now. This is a great cut to maybe cook a little bit extra and have it for multiple days of eating. But we're going to have a lot of fun in May. So join us for sure. Anything, bud? Nope. All right. So let's go ahead and get our aioli. I'm just going to do a nice spread on here. Nothing too crazy.
We do have a question.
Question, go.
Is the grain in a tri-tip actually 3 directions?
Yes, the grain is normally 2 to 3 directions. The question was, is a grain in the tri-tip usually 3 directions? There are more times than not I find 3. It's either 2 to 3. That's why it's so important when you are in the preparation phase before you oil it and season it. That oil acts as a binder, right? So before you get all that seasoning on there, definitely check out the grains because I will tell you, cutting it with the grain makes for a different eating experience. And if someone ever says, wow, that steak's really chewy, or wow, that steak's really tough, it could very well be that it was sliced not incorrectly, but not correctly, if you will. All right, one of the other leftover things in this recipe was, I know what you're thinking, spinach, right? It needed some spinach. So the cool thing is we just went through and wilted some spinach. It's also crazy because this was a big bag of spinach before I wilted it down. So take a little bit of spinach. This will give us a little bit of greenage on here, right? So now we have a little bit more color, if you will. Any other questions rolling in? Nope. All right. What do you guys think so far? Does that look good? Does this look like a sandwich you would eat? Maybe leave off the spinach. Now, what I love about the wilted spinach is we're packing more on there, right? So we're getting a little bit more spinach, getting a little bit more hearty greens in there. Absolutely, you could do fresh greens if you wanted to. Just be careful not to over-season them. I wouldn't dress my greens because all of a sudden you've got the aioli, you've got the acid and the dressing on your greens competing with the tomatoes and everything else. So I like to keep it, I like to pay attention to what's in there so we don't get too crazy. All right, now let's go ahead and take those marinated tomatoes out. And we'll throw a couple pieces on each sandwich. Right. And then don't forget, we've got our onions in here, our shallots, I should say. We've got our acid. We've got brown sugar for some sweetness. We have salt and pepper. A lot of good flavors going on in here. And that'll give you a nice little pop of flavor, too. When you bite into those tomatoes, you'll get a good little squeeze of tomato happiness, if you will, if you like tomatoes. All right, and then we'll add the beef on top. Great. This would travel well if you're going to someone's house, like a graduation party, and they said, hey, can you help us out? You bring, appetizers for 10 or whatever, and they're having a fun little hodgepodge. What's a better word for hodgepodge? Smorgasbord, right? Isn't that a good? Potluck. Ooh, potluck's even better, yeah. Annie said potluck. So if you're having a fun little graduation potluck, that'll work out good as well. Look at that. Not bad, right? That's the start to it. And then we'll take a little bit of the cured onions on top, just as a final little garnish if you choose, and add those on top like that. And now you have found a way to utilize that leftover tri-tip. And you know what? This is also great, too, because maybe you are doing a larger party and tri-tip is on sale at your local butcher, your club store, your grocery store. It's a great time to buy in bulk, save a little bit of money as well, and then even stretch that dining dollar even further, that beef dollar a little bit further. So that is it. Pretty quick and painless, right? That's a great little sandwich. Super tasty, right? Good way to utilize a lot of cool things. And then it's fast and easy, right? Tri-tip was done. All you have to do is assemble this. And we showed you that tip. Yes, you can absolutely make that aioli ahead of time. But if you want, just use speed scratch, right? Use a little bit of mayonnaise and doctor up that mayonnaise to add some more fun. If you don't want to do this onion, you could always also do preserved onions. You could do pickled onions. Pickled onions would add a cool little bit of fun to this as well. So a lot of versatility for sure. Like we always say, don't forget to head over to cobeef.com. That's the Colorado Beef Council website where you can grab today's recipes and a lot of good, amazing content. Then head over to beefitswhatsfordinner.com too. That is a great place to go. beefitswhatsfordinner.com. You can type in ribeye and it's going to bring up everything, or you can type in strip loin, tri-tip, etc. Then coming up, May 24th. Don't forget to join us May 24th. We'll be back right here live. We're talking grilling tips. And we're going to go through a lot of different grilling steaks, kind of like the best steaks for grilling and barbecuing, to give you the best bang for your beef buck, if you will, right? And like we always say, too, thank you so much to our ranchers, farmers, and producers for having us out to do these and for trusting us to do these as well. We really appreciate their support, and we are very honored to represent the cattle industry and the Colorado Beef Council. So thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget, if you're watching this after the fact, after we are live, don't forget to leave your questions and comments, because we always come back and answer everything and make sure we get you well taken care of. So I'm Chef Jason Morris. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Happy Friday. I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you in May for grilling steaks and grilling tips.